My name is Anuradha Govind, and I'm from SWMRT, Solid Waste Management Roundtable. I welcome all of you for the session 3, Managing Different Waste Streams, Service Providers, and we will be talking a little bit about empanelment. Right now, the session is on Zoom and also streaming on YouTube Live, and YouTube link will also be available post this session. Let me just start off with a little introduction about who we are, SWMRT. SWMRT, we are a collective of SWM practitioners and working for sustainable waste management for good practices to be adopted by the municipality as well as citizens for improving public health, safe water, clean air, and inclusive livelihood. These are our ideologies. We believe in segregation at source, and it's important that waste has to be segregated, and only then there can be a processing recovery. It's possible. Believe in waste stream destination-based collection, inclusion of informal sector, promoting waste to compost, and we have a campaign called Swachhagraha where we are really promoting composting at every level, whether it is home, community, lane. We believe in maximizing a decentralized approach and phasing out the non-recyclables over a period of time. So this is the ideology, and all the work that we do at SWMRT, sort of revolves around this. So recently we did a study of 23 apartments for bulk generators, residential bulk generators. And so this session is really for that. So the law defines the bulk generator as above 100 units, and they have to manage their waste, either their own arrangement using an empaneled service provider. And the definition is also either 100 units or 100 kgs. Or the KSPCB Act talks about 5,000 square meters. And it's also mentioned in the SWM bylaws for our city. There are 3 broad categories of bulk generators: residential, institutional, and commercial. We did a study on residential, and that's going to be the focus of today's discussion also. And it is the responsibility of the bulk generators to segregate waste into at least wet, dry, reject, garden waste, C&D. So these are the things, and they need to use the services of authorized service providers and empanel vendors, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. These are the 5 broad categories. Even in our study, we reached out to different communities and found out what they were doing, how they were collecting waste, how people were segregating, what was happening to each stream of waste, and what was the frequency of collection, what was the quantity of it. So these were the broad categories. And again, that's going to be the focus of today's discussion. The study itself, we reached out to many communities across Bangalore, and we collected a survey form and also interviewed a direct interview with different communities who wanted to participate in the study. And we totally reached out to 23 communities, both apartment, villas, and we found the 3 different segments of the communities. There were the 100 to 300 households, 300 to 800, and above 800. And we were able to get a representation across all these different sizes and across all parts of Bangalore. So these were the 23 communities who participated in our study. And you can also see the number of houses or the households indicated by each of these, in each of the communities. And it was a good representation of, all the different sizes and good observations that we got. And like I said, we did. So we had the first session, we talked about where we invited 3 community champions, and we really talked about how did they implement segregation at source, and what were the challenges, what were the initiatives they have taken to minimize waste. That was session 1. It is available as a YouTube a video on our YouTube channel, on the SWMRT channel. The second, we did a session about in situ processing, which is about community composting. A lot of communities were doing in situ composting, and we again invited 3 communities, and we talked to them about how do they go about it and what are the challenges, what are they doing with the compost. So that was session 2. You will also find that in our YouTube channel, on the SWMRT channel. And today we're going to be really, we have panelists are different service providers who are operating in Bangalore, and we're going to be, and also a representative from BBMP. And today we're going to be really talking about, what are the, what services they offer, what happens to the waste stream. Many of us, I think, are not aware of this. So we thought it's a good opportunity for us to really understand the different waste streams, what happens to the waste once it leaves the community, and what are the challenges, and how we can all work together to really implement a better system in the city. I'm going to invite my colleague Soumya to introduce the panelists we have for today. Soumya.
Thank you, Anu. I hope you all can hear me clearly.
Yeah.
We are happy to have panelists, 3 panelists from Bangalore-based organizations today. One is Swachha Eco Solutions, and the other is HTI Hasirudala Innovations. We are also happy to have Sahas Zero Waste, Sahas Waste Management Private Limited with us. So Wilma, Sheikhar, and Rajesh are respectively the CEOs of and founders of these organizations. I would like to invite Sheikhar Prabhakar first to introduce himself more.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sheikhar Prabhakar, co-founder and CEO of Hasirudala Innovations. For those of you who may not know Kannada, Hasirudala means the green force, a name chosen by waste pickers, the community that we work with. Our basic thing is to how do we create better livelihood and entrepreneurship opportunities for waste pickers through waste management services that enable the circular economy. We have been in business since November 2015. Thank you.
May I now invite Wilma Rodrigues to introduce herself?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. And it's nice to have all of you come together, all of us come together to discuss again how we can really be the first movers as apartments and residences to manage our own waste. So Sahas Zero Waste, we've been working in this space since 2013, and we do work largely with corporate campuses, but then also with residences, and we're happy to work especially with spaces like villa communities as well as larger apartments to look at on-site waste management, to look at how garden litter can be managed on-site along with all the other wet waste. And then of course we also work with dry waste to enable systems which recover the maximum resources, to give opportunities to all our households to manage all their waste streams, including the difficult waste streams, because we've really been able to kind of bring in systems of accountability to each waste stream so that one can track and trace their waste so that they go to proper end destinations, sorting, aggregation, and then recycling. Happy to be here and look forward to being a part of this discussion. Thank you.
And now request Mr. Rajesh Babu to introduce himself and the organization.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here. Swachha Eco Solutions, we are into collection, transportation, aggregation, and recycling of dry waste, majorly into plastic waste. So with that regard, we as a service provider, we name ourselves as an integrated waste management organization. So the collection will be done by dedicated vehicles for dry, separate, and wet separate. And all these vehicles are our own fleet of trucks with all GPS equipped as per policy, everything. And the waste will be in turn transported to the aggregation facility of ours, and for the further secondary or tertiary level of segregation. And out of that, the major part, the plastic waste, will be recycled in a dry waste processing center in Yelahanka, and the non-recyclables waste will be in turn sent to co-processing and others. And whatever the leftover paper, metal, rubber, e-waste, everything will be in turn segregated in a complied way, and it goes to the respective recyclers. So in a way, yes, we're also part of bulk waste vendors, authorized bulk vendors from BBMP, and happy to hear from you all. And let's see. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh. Sami, you want to introduce? We also have Mr. Santosh Kaddi from BBMP.
Yes, sorry. Hello.
Yeah,
sorry,
we can hear
I'm not
you.
able to hear clearly. Yes, we are happy to have Mr. Santosh, who works in the senior position at the SWM cell of BBMP, and we are happy that he has agreed to join us. Mr. Santosh Kaddi, can you hear us? Could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Santosh Kaddi. I am working as Assistant Executive Engineer in Solid Waste Management of Department of PPM. As you know, a lot of changes are thrown open by opening of company, and we are at this juncture where we have to see how we have to go ahead and how we have to proceed. And meantime, still I am driving. Sorry, I cannot talk much. I will listen more.
Okay, no problem. We'll come to you a little later. Yeah,
I also wanted to say we had invited the CEO of Medicare, a biomedical facility vendor, and unfortunately he could not join us today. We have also invited Mr. Kabade for the as he represents the SC of SWM services in BBMP. He also, I'm afraid, has not been able to join us, but we're still hopeful that they may sometime get into the session as well.
Okay, thank you. So I think the idea is really to, have a conversation. I think many times we always look at vendors and, people are really not sure of what happens to the waste that happens. So it's, I think, more a conversation that we'd like to have with, each of you to understand the streams specifically. And then we'll take it forward based on. So we'll request the participants, if you all have any questions, do put it out in the chat box. And, during the course of the conversation, as and when we find it or a little later, we will open it up, to the panelists, and we will try and answer those questions. So I'd like to start with Sheikhar. So what are, as Hasrudallah Innovations, what are the different streams? In our study, we looked at wet, dry, sanitary, reject, e-waste, and garden waste. So let's look at these, broad streams, and that was the scope of our study. And, just for our discussions to keep it sort of around that, can you tell us, as Hasrudallah Innovations, a little bit about which are the streams that you take, and what are the destinations for each of these streams? Where is it going once it gets picked up from the community?
Sure. We for bulk generators, we offer an end-to-end service across all streams of municipal solid waste management. We provide services only to those who segregate waste at source. In fact, even before onboarding a customer, we check for the quality. We do a waste audit. We check for the quality of segregated waste. If it is not high enough, then we actually give free training to get to that level before we start providing services. We pick up wet and reject on 7 days a week service, except for 14 days in a year, pre-declared holidays when we pick it up the next day. Dry waste is between 2 to 3 times a week that we pick up. E-waste is typically once in 2 to 3 months, garden waste is an ad hoc truck load basis. Each of these have specific destinations that we take to, which are KSPCB authorized. So wet waste goes to either a composting plant, or now we have our own biogas plant where we actually make the wet waste into compressed biogas, which replaces LPG and therefore a fossil fuel. And currently the capacity is 15 tons of wet waste per day, but it is built for 30 tons. In phase 2, it will go up to 30 tons. The dry waste is taken by our waste picker entrepreneurs, sorted, segregated, and taken to the and sold into the recycling supply chain. We also have our own aggregation of plastic, primarily 2 polymers, PET and LDPE, and where we actually tie up with brands. For example, some of you might have noticed that yesterday H&M announced that all the buttons that are being used in the apparel manufactured in India and sold worldwide has 30% recycled PET, all of which is sourced exclusively from Hazratullah Innovations. So we are trying to ensure that waste pickers get access to end markets and ensure that it is properly and fairly recycled. E-waste goes to a dismantler, garden waste again goes to a biogas plant where we mix it with our biogas slurry to give very high quality organic manure.
Okay, thank you. May I ask Rajesh? Would you like to? I think you already briefly touched upon it. So what are the different streams of waste, and what are the destinations that the waste goes to? So that where is it going? Each of these different streams.
Yeah,
do you
yes.
collect again?
Yeah, at Swachha, working with bulk generators, the first is that we ensure, as Sheikhar sir was mentioning, we also do due diligence is mandated. So unless and until the segregation percentage is more than 85 to 90%, so then we will deploy vehicles for collection. So till then, if the community requires any kind of support, let's say in creating awareness within the apartment community, or working very closely with them in improving segregation rate by providing professional training to the housekeeping staff who manage waste, because they do the C&T normally. From every door, they just bring it to one centralized point.
Correct.
So we work.
Rajesh, I think it got.
From there, after deploying the vehicles, we will ensure that the end destination is neatly, cleanly monitored.
No, I think you are mute. Yeah.
Dry, wet, and garden waste. And sanitary waste, we ensure that the segregation happens in 3 ways. As that's dry, wet, and household sanitary waste. We will, in whichever community we are working in Bangalore, we will ensure that the community signs up an MOU, a small service level agreement for disposal of biomedical waste. If we are working in Yelahanka, then Ramki or Meridi. So likewise, based on the jurisdiction of the service provider, we will ensure that we hand over the biomedical waste to them, or sanitary waste to them. And then comes the dry waste, which we pick up from the apartment or gated communities or from institutions or from MSMEs. So that waste will be transported to our, we have a decentralized aggregation facility. Currently, we have 4 facilities in Bangalore, and all these facilities are strategically placed in the periphery of Bangalore. So this particular aggregating facilities will act as a small MRF facilities kind of, where the source segregated dry waste will be brought to the aggregation facilities. There we deploy another, huge set of manpower in segregating the waste into paper, into multigrades, plastic into multigrades, metal, rubber, e-waste, so which can be recyclables and non-recyclables will be neatly segregated and aggregated in the sense.
Right.
And later, all these plastic waste, which I told you, will be brought to our dry waste processing center, which is there in Yelahanka, wherein we recycle waste plastic and convert that into useful useful granules or shredded PET, or it can be a baled HDP or shed or granules. So whichever market demands, we tend to recycle them, and from there it goes to our finished product unit, which is also there in Pina, wherein we manufacture drip irrigation pipes and interlocking paper tiles made out of waste plastic. So these are the full, end-to-end, so that every community of any community can easily track the waste. So that is the assurance what we give to them, that we can follow the truck, or we could give you a site to right from the door till the end destination to becoming a product. You can have a look at it. The traceability is available anytime for all the RWAs or whomsoever is willing to work with us. So it is the accessibility what we give it to them. And when it comes to garden waste and wet waste, we work very closely with farmers. So as I told you, we also use, it's like a community composting, but using farmers and farmland. We call that model as farmer linkage model, wherein we don't transport wet waste more than 14 kilometers. So we have a limitation to handle 5 tons. That's a max capacity what we could go, because the source segregated organics will be transported to the nearest farmland, and we do community composting there, and we incentivize farmer by paying him small amount of money, monetizing them for the land utilization. And the harvested manure belongs to farmer himself. So that is the kind of model what we are working. And we have been piloting and been working from past 6 years in Yelahanka, working with closely around 14 to 18 communities, and diverting closely around 4.5 tons of wet waste every day. So continuing to that, we are also working similar kind of model in Kanakpura and Belandur, Vartur, Belandur region, and Davaspete close by. So wherever possible in the periphery where the agriculture activity is really going on really good. So there we are trying to concentrate on that part. When it comes to dry waste and wet waste, yes, garden waste. And yes, the e-waste what we generate normally, so what we get from the bulk generators. So we tend to aggregate them and send it to the authorized dismantler or recycler approved by Karnataka State Pollution Control Board. And the non-recyclables like mattresses, it can be slippers or MLPs. There's multi-layer plastic, low-value plastic, or others. So all these, we have direct, we have signed up an MOU with cement kilns across Karnataka, such as ACC, Ultratech, Bharti, Dalmia. So likewise, we send it to them for co-processing. And one thing we could assure all our communities who work with us, we tell them your waste is again our responsibility, and we do it with utmost responsibility when it comes to managing the waste. And yes, this is what we do.
Okay, thank you, Rajesh. That's wonderful to hear that your model is where you're trying to connect with the farmer linkage, and so that it benefits both. So may I request Vilma? So do you also, I think you do more of supporting in situ, but I think dry waste and e-waste is something that, in our study, we found many communities are using the services of Sahas as the one of the providers for e-waste. So maybe you could tell us a little about the streams that you do offer services, and what happens to, again, e-waste and the different streams that I think you mentioned, of course, the MRF, but maybe a little more detail about what you're doing for the participants who have joined in.
Yeah, sure. So actually, we really encourage on-site waste management for wet waste, and I think that's something that we really believe in, and we would really expect now most apartments to put that in place, especially because you have so many different composting options. But even so, the dry waste, so wet waste can easily be managed, and then also you do have now relatively large quantities of dry waste, and what we offer therefore is our material recovery facility as an end destination. It does have a capacity of 16 tons per day, and it is a facility that can take all kinds of dry waste, which is paper, plastic, metal, glass, and there is an automated system for the sorting that takes place. And then, of course, we have the MOUs with all the recyclers. So that is the accountability that we bring to the dry waste. But coming to electronic waste, yes, we are registered by, as a PRO by the Central Pollution Control Board. So therefore, we do work with a lot of brands who are, who have contracts with us for reverse logistics. And so therefore, we do offer a specialized collection of electronic waste, which we do on a regular basis with apartments who are signed up with us. It's both for electronic waste and now also for textile waste. So we are increasingly seeing that textiles is, a very difficult stream to manage, and so therefore we do provide a collection system for the textile waste. And then now we have introduced sorting of textile waste, and there are various different uses. We also run a swap shop, and we're interested for people to come and buy worn clothing from the swap shop that we have in BTM layout. So so all of this electronic waste as well as textile waste, there is recycling happening, of course, for e-waste. There are authorized vendors, and it's important that it goes to them. And for textile waste, the recycling is really not there as yet. But so what we do offer as the alternative is materials that go for co-processing, but we, through the sorting, actually recover quite a bit for reuse, and that goes to our swap shop. I was happy to see in this chat box somebody talking about C&D waste. I really think that apartments should put attention to that, because in Bangalore you do have solutions for C&D waste, and we do offer solutions for supporting apartments to understand, because it's not easy. You do have to you can't, once the waste is mixed, you can't kind of then sort it out, because it's the nature of the C&D waste. So you do need to know what are the different categories that one has to keep aside separately, and then it gets collected. There are now facilities, Rock Crystals is one facility where the C&D waste can go into. Shobha Developers is also running another C&D facility closer to Jigni. There again, there's crushing and a kind of a back to, this materials coming back in the form of tiles, etc., which can be used again. So there are a lot of solutions, and we are happy that we are, as and when they are required, we are able to offer these services. One last point is that we are very, very mindful of the fact that we need to pay minimum wages to the entire chain. And I say minimum wages, it's really something that should now be looked at a little bit differently. It should be living wages. It should be a little bit more than minimum wages. But that is something that we are always very conscious about, with the team that is involved in collection, with the team that is involved in sorting and processing in our material recovery facility or in our on-site waste management services.
That's wonderful. Yes, I think you touched upon these other two streams, which is textile as well as C&D. I think that is something we really need. A lot more awareness needs to be, I think, worked in this space in terms of what is really defined and what is the kind of quantity, because sometimes you have as 6 bags is all that you probably have, could be sometimes, a lot more. And I think a lot more awareness needs to be created on that. And maybe that is something I think we at SWMRT should take up in a big scale in terms of awareness and creating this whole categories of, and definitely we will see what has been done. And I think wonderful, yes, textile is another challenge that we are all facing today, more than what we can handle is really the thing. Like to come back to you, Sheikhar, to sort of, understand or just your perspective on how things have changed over the years in terms of today when a community reaches out, is there segregation? You said you do an audit and kind of do, but how is the quality of it? Is it sustained? And has it, over the, let's say, last 5 years, what would you say has the number increased? Segregation, there's a lot been happening in Bangalore, I think, compared to many cities. What is your take on the quality of segregation and the engagement with which communities participate in this whole process of, bulk generator and waste management?
I think, we do about 320 apartment complexes covering about 30,000 households and manage about 50 tons of waste per day in terms of just the apartment. And what we have found is that, communities are completely willing to segregate at source. What they need assurance on is that it is not being mixed after being collected, that it is taken in the streams that they have segregated into and are being assured that it goes to the right destination, right? So for a simple thing, for example, we collect dry waste separately. We do not collect it with wet and rejects, right? So the optics matter. So people have to be able to get assurance, even in a small thing like being collected separately, right? And also they are open to one of the things that you have to do, for example, whenever we find that waste is getting mixed for some reason, which each stream, we actually take photographs, send it back to the facility manager, the managing committee, so that they are able to work with their residents and housekeeping to improve the levels, right? And today, I can with confidence say that our segregation quality is more than 95%, which means there's only about 5% contamination. And at the biogas unit, for example, we don't do any secondary segregation because it's not necessary, right? We are able to use it as it is. So I think people are willing to. You just have to have the systems in place, like housekeeping should collect it separately. And there should be a discipline, schedule about when they pick up dry waste twice a week, and then the service provider has also to provide pick it up at the same time. So I am over the 6 years, the resistance to segregate is much less, in my opinion, than before. So that's a great thing.
Yeah, so I think that's what we found in our study also. I mean, there were communities who have, started 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and the fact that they have sustained it. I mean, and, so it's now become a part of the process. It's almost like, there are no specific volunteer. They say, no, the housekeeping takes care, the supervisor takes care, the facility manager. So I think system has evolved in Bangalore, where communities, initially, I think everybody starts off with a citizen group or green volunteers. They set up the process, do it for a couple of years. And I think with the, service providers and all supporting, and then it sort of gets into an autopilot mode. So that's really, really, very heartening to see that there's a lot more things have matured. So it just proves that it's possible. But yes, different communities are at different levels, in the journey, I think. So So Bilma, what I want to do is, what is you also offer, training to capacity building, to the housekeeping, and is suppose an an apartment. Sometimes what happens, we find that communities don't have active volunteers to really take it up. So as an organization, is that something that, can they reach out to organizations to help them do that process? Because every apartment doesn't have active SWM volunteers. And I think that's really one of the, differentiating factor between a community really getting on the journey and not on it. So as an organization, is that something that communities can reach out to and, find support if they do not have in-house volunteers, kind of to do this whole segregation process? And, it also hand-holding and taking that whole thing for a period of time till it stabilizes.
Yeah, so we would do this for our customers. So those who have signed up with us for services, and need that kind of hand-holding, and that hand-holding could be for a period of time till it stabilizes. But we would do it for our customers because then we would, want to also be involved with what happens to the waste after the segregation starts to improve.
So, but does that mean that, does it mean that they're already segregated, so then they become your customers, or they kind of sign up and then, it sort of gets into that process?
So when they sign up, they could be at like 30, 40, 50% segregation at source. And then we would take them to that 90% plus.
Right.
And then, so there is that extra cost involved in the initial phases. And then it's slowly, then they're on their own after that. And we would do then a kind of refresher training for the housekeeping and sensitization on days like Environment Day, etc., to just reinforce the message.
Because I think I've heard, a lot of communities also, I think that third category is still not, though we all know the rule is there, it's there in the bylaws, it's there in it, but we still hear this quite often, this narrative that, my community segregates into wet and dry. That still, I think, is still, it's not yet become, all of us in our circles, we talk about 3 and more, but I think it's still there that you're talking about wet and dry, and we are always wondering where the third category is getting into actually, and sometimes it is really a thing. So what is your...
You're absolutely right, Anu. We are not putting enough attention on the medical waste. And now with COVID times, when you had a lot of, the PPEs, etc., coming into medical waste, that is going out as a reject. And that is really, really unfortunate, because you do have solutions and service providers for the medical waste as well. And I think now apartments should, I know there is a cost to it, and that's become the deterrent, but finally we should be able to ask ourselves, what is the price of health and environment, and whether it's worth it. So you're completely right on that, and I hope that is
I think
we talk about it more.
We really need more communities first, I think, understand that, there is no, I think 3 ways is the waste. Of course, e-waste and garden waste. So we actually realize there are 6. So there's e-waste, garden waste, and C&D, but assuming that those are not on regular basis, but at least these 3 are definitely that needs to be there. And I think that's the message, that if every, let's say every apartment in Bangalore gets to 3-level segregation, I think that's a big target that, we are kind of a benchmark that we will be reaching, and it'll really, sort of help the further downstream that process. I'd like to come back to Rajesh. You mentioned specifically that you kind of tie up with the, you have the Medicare or, whoever the biomedical waste that is there. What do you think that is that sometimes, people, we have also, in our study, we found that only about 30% of communities are actually separating out reject and, in the sanitary waste and from the reject category. And one of the deterrents is the cost factor. And like Wilma said, it is there. So just wanted to ask from you, Rajesh, that since you specifically mentioned, so does it mean that every community agrees? And what is that facility enough for the city of Bangalore to take care of the medical waste across? There are only 3 vendors, I think, who are there. Is that sufficient for it? Or is that something that we need? And it's also, again, depending on the city, which part of the city you are in. So what is your thing about the medical waste, since you said you always make sure that's, you have a tie-up with that for the community?
Yeah, when it comes to handling communities, I would say we work very a less number of units or less number of apartment or villa communities in Bangalore. I would in that, we, because from the introduction of bulk waste vendors, and the bulk generators has to follow these norms were introduced. I think we went to start our negotiation or start our first conversation is with the biomedical waste service providers. So we told them there is something new opportunity that you need to grab on, but instead of you doing, instead, because since they have the beautiful supply chain is already ready, because all these fleets will be in and around fleeing to collect waste from
Hospital.
nearby hospitals, polyclinics, everything. We will ensure that, because wherever the closest proximity of the hospitals or polyclinics, if there is apartment, we will ensure that, that waste goes to the that particular vendor. That
Right.
tie-up arrangement, we made it at the back end, right from the beginning.
Right.
And when it comes to, yes, there will be a resistance with communities paying additional for
Right.
biomedical waste or for this kind of services. So we tell them that, yes, initially, to overcome the resistance will take time. Whenever, we talk about sustainability or we talk about beautiful things about the waste, how we handle everything finally it comes to the costing. So
Correct.
apartment communities do understand what we do, but yet they negotiate, because we tell them that, it's not burden, that's that, we are not charging, no, it's like exorbitant kind of,
It is
that's the
less than,
reason
I guess, the a movie ticket or a cafe is what
absolutely,
the kind of
we charge less than
comparison.
PVR gold class to handle
Correct.
both dry wet. That is less than 150 rupees, I would say. So that is because we optimize because most of the expense or expenditure for us is the collection and the transportation. So if we try and look at and work out on the best transporting model, then we can pass on that benefit to the community back again. So
Right.
we tell them this is the way that, to reduce the logistics cost, we will work very closely with the community and we'll ensure that, their waste has to reach to end destination, has to, what we promise has to be delivered. Uh, I think from the day we started with the communities, the customer retention is still maintained. Initially, there wasn't any budgets for disposal of biomedical waste. Now, the community has, after 6 months to an year, they have earmarked additional budgets for garbage disposal, especially for biomedical or sanitary waste. Yes, communities are interested to dispose their waste responsible. Just that, that we have to ensure, the services
Connect and the
connect.
services.
Yeah, that is what. And when it comes to handling capacity of biomedical waste in city, is there only 3 people. If Sheikhar, sorry, from this one, hello,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, from Shashi Reddy
Yeah, he
from
was supposed to
Ramki,
join us, but
supposed
I
to join,
think,
because if he
yeah,
was
but
there,
he
he would
couldn't
have
join.
given the
Yeah. That's why
better
we were hoping
understanding
to get.
on the plant. When it comes to capacity wise, no, it's not sufficient. 3 plants is not sufficient,
Right.
and most of it, I wonder what they do, because the volume
Correct.
what they are collecting from hospitals and other polyclinics. I should be very honest in telling you that.
Yeah.
So handling additional waste, that is the bulk waste, sanitary waste, bulk generator sanitary waste is additional waste which
Yeah.
normally they may have to incorporate along with the current capacities of handling hospitals and other polyclinics. So I
There
think
is a need, I think, as a city
there is
to really
absolute
enhance
need
that
of an hour,
capacity
because
if
to
every
increase their capacity,
community,
uh,
really gets to this
and more people, getting into this treatment
service.
and
Right.
processing and recycling.
Correct.
This will solve the problem. And so far, yeah, we are equally saddened, and I second Wilma ma'am as well, that most of the biomedical waste, I would say, 80 to 90% of the waste is still ending up in landfill, unprocessed, especially sanitary waste.
Yeah, that's really we really need a lot to do. I hope Mr. Santosh, you're able to join us. I mean, able to speak now. So we just wanted to understand from you what is, I think one of the challenges always we've had is there are this whole mapping of the bulk generators, how many, and I think they also, and from an apartment point of view, they are always at a loss as to where do I get this data of who are the service providers and who are this. Of course, we try to use different forums to be able to communicate this, but I think still there is a kind of lack of information available, or let's say on a BBMP website or an agency where everybody kind of looks at. So is there any effort, from BBMP? And that's what was one of our, in our study also, one of the challenges that people posed was this finding, vendors and solution service providers and about that. So is there something that BBMP is working on? Can you, share something about what is the plan for bulk generators? If you have, I don't know if you have the thing, but if you have the information or if you know of what is being planned for that. Mr. Santosh? I don't know if he's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, earlier we had vendor empanelment, and BBMP is focusing more on in situ processing rather than going for again transportation to another location and processing, as detailed out by various members. The various streams which can go along for processing in situ, and some of the things which need to be taken out for further processing. But our mandate is to handle it in situ so that any other like transportation costs, add-ons to it can be reduced.
Correct.
If there is already BBMP has started issuing notices to various apartment complexes why they are not doing in situ composting or in situ processing of different kinds of waste. To throw more light, our Sahas madam highlighted that there should be more focus on in situ composting, and there should be a end solution for other schemes.
Yes.
Wherein the service providers or the empanel vendors connected to the end destination. That means either they can come out with granules for dry waste, or they can convert it into useful products. That end products or end reach is what will determine the rate for the consumers or the waste generators. If that high value can be reached, then the burden on the service providers or not service providers, on the generators will come down. The value addition should be more focused more so that the burden on the generators comes down. That chain should be linked. That's why the processing capacity of the generators, empaneled vendors or the service providers should increase substantially. That will help a lot in bringing down the cost of cost burden on the bulk generators, which in turn will incentivize in further segregation. And as discussed, various streams can be handled in a more professional way, and like garden waste can be mixed with our wet waste, and it can be done in situ composting, and recycling can be done. And terrace portion of the apartments can be used for finer segregation by the housekeeping staff, so that only the better streams can be moved out, and low value can be moved as an aggregate rather than going for large aggregator centers. These things should be educated to the bulk generators so that they become more aware of what will happen to their waste. And the most of the components are utilized in the sense, at least in situ processing is enabled.
Yeah, no, I think that yeah, so we did find a lot of communities were doing, I think, in situ even in our study, and there are a lot more encouraged, and good to hear that many are encouraged. But I think the challenge that many communities, what we found was the volumes of garden waste were very, very high. I mean, they were not really able to process or take care of it. And in fact, very few really, and everybody said somebody is taking it somewhere and putting it somewhere. I mean, that was the kind of feedback that we got from all the communities, because the whole garden waste, while it's a great resource, but I think that in chain, I don't know, for whatever reasons, it's something that needs to be streamlined or needs to be made more attractive or communicated to people as to how much to be paid and, youth interest. But I think, like you said, of course, wet waste can be, but I think communities still need vendors and, for the other streams of waste, it needs to be. And I think it'll be good if, the BBMP, publishes a list or puts it so everybody is aware of it. Otherwise, we are still referring to, different lists and we're not sure if that is there. And is there kind of date, as this notice started being issued for all the zones? I know some of them have started. In fact, today, some of them visited the Kalika Kendra also, about 10, 12 apartments, 20 apartments visited Kalika Kendra today. And so is this being done across the city? I think I may have.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. Yes.
Hello. Yeah.
I can hear you.
Now, as I have seen in most of the, I had had a chance to visit Singapore. There actually including this restaurant and every household, they have a churner. They churn it and take it to biogas plant directly. And in fact, this leaves, some small shredder can be adopted across all the garden waste, wherever garden or apartment complexes of the private generators, like large complexes of about 5,000 square meters area. We can have better composting, in situ composting, and in fact, the wet waste, if it is mixed with this shredded garden waste, it will be more of enhancer of composting. You want to do biomethanization also, you can do, and the sludge, it can be blended with this what you call shredded garden waste to make it into compost. And it is a high value product which you can get by doing such processes. These kind of things needs more technical intervention, and hope more innovations will follow up, so that more of in situ composting or in situ processing will be happening, because most of the apartments spend a lavish amount in STP, that is sewage treatment plant, and lot of space being utilized. We can have a subsidiary plan to utilize to give a lot more space for this solid waste.
Right. Yeah, so I think we need to do more, more aware or more work on that area. So I'm just looking at just a kind of some of the questions that have come up. So one of the things I think specifically about excess compost, which communities do, we did talk about it in our previous session. So currently, of course, one is directly find farmer linkages, or you can actually participate in our program called the Swachhagraha Compost Connect. And I think Soumya has just put in the link also, so that we can then see how we can, requirements, and try to see that excess compost can be utilized, to the farmer. Regarding that, somebody was asking about what do we do? We are facing recently maids and mixing waste and throwing in wet waste. Sometimes we find So I think this is the challenge which many communities have, where, in the initial stages of segregation and it to be consistent. So from our first session, the people who have, sort of mandated or have made it happen in many communities. So they use multiple approaches. I think at one level, is they try to penalize and try to find out who it is. The housekeeping is given strict instructions, or they do a name and shame. So then they say this apartment, or they penalize it in some communities. So I think different communities use different methods of ensuring this segregation. There are always challenges, and I think it, like says, about 95%. I think people always, because it's a very moving crowd and things like that. But I think we just have to connect to communities who have done and really work around it, and over a period of time, that kind of stabilizes. Okay, let me look at any other questions. Okay, so then, so Jagannath Rao, actually the question about what is the minimum per day quantity of wet waste to operate a unit economically, I think it's a little difficult for us to, there is no metrics as such to do it. You can visit, the Kalika Kendra has many different solutions that are there, and each one has its plus and minus. Some can be kept outdoors, some can be, needed a less space, some is more space, some is, out in the open, some needs a shade cover. So there are different, solutions that are available, and we can also share the list of different vendors of community composting. And I think you really need to, and in fact, next Saturday, they are actually, they're there, the team is there from our, members from our team are there from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock at Kalika Kendra, where they are actually talking to people and answering questions like this. And also in some cases, the vendors are also joining. So maybe you can visit and sort of really look at what will work best for your community, because there is no specific formula as such, because each solution is a little, different. Okay, so I think we have kind of, reached sort of end. Maybe Sheikhar, your final thoughts on what do you feel as a service provider, as a vendor, what are the things that you like, both from the community point of view and from BBMP? What is your ask, or what is your thoughts, wants as your final thoughts?
I think one of the things that, as generators of waste, whether as an individual or as a community, is to know that the end-to-end of the whole waste management process is a negative value process, and someone has to pay for it, either through taxes or through what we call the polluter pays principle, which is what bulk generators, when we engage with bulk generators, that's the principle on which they pay, right? That they are being responsible about their waste and how it is managed responsibly. So one, I think, is the understanding that there is a cost to responsible waste management. And so that is, I think, key. And therefore, once that is understood, the willingness to pay amongst bulk generators will increase. After that, it is a simple process, in my opinion, because we have had customers for over 6 years now with us. So once you have the process set, once they are get that clarity, then it's easy. From a BBMP side, I think clarity of policy, clarity of how a vendor would be empaneled, what are the things that they would look for, so that the bulk generators are assured that the people that they sign up with are being responsible about the waste that they collect or provide services to do in situ composting, are to have the necessary capabilities and destinations and process in place. One of the things is that the empanelment process be not only transparent, but also for empanelment is given for a longer period of time so that service providers like us can make investments in whatever is required to provide services well.
Yeah, Wilma, would you like to have your?
Yeah, so I just like to, kind of say that many of us who are running now these enterprises, these social enterprises, the reason and our purpose for being here is because we want and we would like to offer services so that everybody gets the opportunity to do the right thing. And apartments, therefore, we've seen a lot of apartments wanting to do the right thing. And therefore, that is the kind of win-win situation for everybody. Yeah. So if we can look at all of this as, enabling a better ecosystem around waste, enabling a better livelihood for people working with waste, not just a livelihood, but a livelihood that will bring better living standards to people working with waste. So these are the opportunities that we have. And here as organizations, there has been pretty much a lot of effort gone into making that happen. And whether that can be appreciated and that can, that can actually move into partnerships so that there is this feeling that we have the opportunity to do the right thing, and we partner with organizations who will make that happen. It's not like we keep hearing from apartments that why should we do this? Why should we be bulk generators? Let us be the first movers, because today, in today's time when we are battling climate change and environment problems, we need to be the first movers. So I would ask, why not? And hope that that is the spirit in which we can work, at least in Bangalore. We've seen this big pushbacks in Mumbai, in the other cities of India, and we always hold out that big flag, we are Bangalore.
Yes.
So we'd like to see Bangalore be the Bangalore that we all love, with apartments coming, putting their hands up. And I hope that there are members from the Bangalore Apartment Federation. You have this huge body of apartments, now a big responsibility to rally together and let us do this together. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Anything from BBMP side? What is your what is it that you'd like ask, or you want some things from the BBMP side, Wilma? I think you.
BBMP, of course, empanelment. Yeah.
Right. I think all of us.
And we use so much of our energy and team is going into just that, whereas we'd rather put it into better. So we are again partners with the BBMP, and we should be treated as partners who are supporting you. So we'd like many more empanel vendors. We need to be audited, we need to be monitored. So do all of that, but don't ignore us. Thanks.
Okay. Rajesh, what is it
Absolutely.
that apartment and apartments as well as BBMP? What is you feel things that we need?
I completely agree with Wilma here, because why? Because we are not because see, this is one of the beautiful session where only 3 people have been had the privilege to participate and speak about our experiences and the future. But we welcome these kind of private waste management organization to come in and solve the much bigger problem. We're not here to compete or to against the system or against any urban local body here in BBMP. Rightly said that we are partnered organization for BBMP here in Bangalore. Wherever, whichever possible way, we'll put in our more strength and energy in improving the system or bettering. That's the only intent of what we are working. If we're talking about collection, transportation, aggregation, recycling, converting into better products out of waste, it's not an easy task. One should look at it as an industry. So we fight all the battles here. So being because the corporations or the government should be like an enabler to support the many, because here we say there are the opportunities is amazing in waste recycling sector. But if any government or any corporation should provide the equal amount of support, whether it's all the stakeholders, coming in one place, building something new, or continue doing the same what we are doing, yet the desired support is required from all of us. It can be when citizen per se, their responsibility is to segregate the waste, though it's the court is mandated, we should be doing it. No, it is their responsibility as a citizen to segregate the waste. And the next, as a service provider, it is our responsibility to take it and do it the right thing, period. And the government responsibility is to facilitate the service providers like us, or the new enterprises, which we also equally welcome them. uh, Unfortunately, uh, there isn't more
Correct.
empanel the new empanel vendors aren't there in Bangalore,
Right.
because yeah, we need the BBMP has to create an ecosystem wherein co-creating and building partnership is the key success for solving the larger waste management problem. So
Right.
yeah, let's work together to build a
Yes.
sustainable future.
Yes. Thank you. I think all of us, while at one level we're all very proud of really Bangalore being sort of really setting the standards high when it comes to bulk generators, and so many communities doing the right thing, and so many vendors supporting it for different streams of waste. And so I think we really sort of, while we hope more and more communities really join this bandwagon and really today we reach out to us at info@swmrt.com. We'll connect you with communities who are
ಮುಂಚೆ ತಾವು ಒಂದು
who are doing an amazing job, and so you can learn from them and kind of take that thing. It is a little bit of a challenge, but once you have cracked it, it's a smooth ride, and that's what many of the communities. And thank you to all the service providers. I mean, Bilma from Sahas, Sheikhar, Asudala Innovations, Rajesh from Swachha Eco, for joining us today for this panel discussion and sharing your thoughts. Thank you, Santosh. I think you were not able to join in properly, but anyway, thank you so much for joining and being a part of this discussion. And you'll be finding this as a YouTube link, and we'll share the links on our social media and with the others. So that, and we hope to have many more conversations around bulk generators in the coming weeks. The idea is for us all to, talk, find solutions, share with others, and really all of us have just one goal and one destination, really. So let's all work together, towards that. So thank you all for being today, and goodbye.
Yeah, thank you, Anu.
Thank you
Bye,
so much.
everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
thank you,
everyone,
thank you.
and thank you,
Thank you.
participants.
Thank you, Sheikhar sir.
Thank you to all. Yeah, thank you all.